Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another Proactive Pragmatism. On this Proactive Pragmatism, we carry on with our series Millennials ARE. This next millennial that I'm about to bring to you guys is a very smart, humble, and charismatic human being. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Williams. Marcus, what's up? Welcome to the podcast.
How you doing?
How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Pretty good, man. I imagine over there working at Grifols. You was off today, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't want to, intervene too much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know how you do it. You've been doing it for way too many years.
Oh my God. One day I'll get out of there, but
So can you tell the audience a little bit about Marcus Williams? Who is Marcus Williams?
I don't know. I work at a plant. I do woodworking on the side. That's like my hobby. But I'm actually also in school. I'm trying to go get a nursing degree, trying to help some people out. I don't know. I'm kind of boring.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's being real humble here. I've turned up with him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of the life of the party in that instinct. And so you work in the healthcare field. What exactly do you currently do?
So currently I'm a supervisor at a plasma donation center. So really I do almost everything there. I started as a processor, so just doing the regular intake of new donors. I sick people, I process the bottles in the lab. As I said, I'm a supervisor, so I do a lot of paperwork. So really almost anything in the center I got my hands on.
Okay. So were there any prerequisites you had to do like before, doing labs and sticking people and stuff like that? Because it seems like, like sometimes like I'll come in and there'll be somebody that's fairly novice. And so like, what is that journey like? Do you have to get education and prerequisites to be a supervisor at a plasma center?
So like when I started, there was no prerequisites for the job. You just had to have like a high school diploma or GED. So I started as a donor processor. And I worked my way up to where I am now. But there really is no prerequisite as far as like any of the positions in the center. We almost don't hire any like new phlebotomists or anyone like phlebotomists that don't have any experience. But other than that, we try to get people that have experience in phlebotomy, but that's really about it. Everything else we can teach you on the job. I actually learned phlebotomy on the job there. We do teach everything on the job. We just prefer that you don't come in as like a phlebotomist that's never stuck somebody. But other than that, everything's pretty teachable.
Wow, that's interesting because like I assume that you had, that you had to have a degree prior is actually kind of similar to the Army. Like a lot of medics, they learn how to stick in the military.
Yeah.
And it's like, so the question is so you'll teach somebody to basically be a phlebotomist, but if they're a novice phlebotomist, so what is the reason why you guys don't really want novice phlebotomists? Over, you know what I'm saying? Somebody just came off the street, you just taught them, now they cracking.
I don't know why they won't just hire as your phlebotomist without having any experience, but we teach people without any experience to do it on the job. That's just kind of how it goes for some reason. And like the interesting about it, even though we have experienced phlebotomists come in and work with us, it almost seems like it's more difficult for them to adjust to the needles that we use. So like I started as phlebotomy there, so I didn't learn it anywhere else. So I think it was easier for me to learn it there than to come from like a hospital setting where you use a lot smaller needles to where we do in plasma and we use a bigger needle. So I don't know. It seems like the advantage is on the people that don't know how to stick. But
wow, okay, that's interesting because it kind of makes sense because you guys get to train them in the system. You guys get to kind of create that culture. So we've talked about, the supervisory side and the working side of it. So as far as like for people that want to make a little extra money, what is the process? What can they expect if they go to a plasma center, just in general?
That's a good question. Actually, so myself, I never donated. I wish I could, but the place that I work at, I can't donate. But when you come in, you just need like photo ID, social security card, or there's other ways around that, but you don't technically need your social security card. But you just need those two things. We get you worked up as a new donor. So that new donor day is pretty long. It takes about 3 hours from paperwork to when you get all the way done. So you do like a little pre-screening. You have to answer a bunch of health history questions. You'll do a little physical, and then you'll go to the donor floor and you'll donate. That takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So that first day is pretty long, but after that, it's really just like you do your little health questionnaire. You do your pre-screening that takes maybe like 5 minutes, and then you go back and donate.
Okay. I mean, that seems like a pretty lengthy process for like, 3 hours is quite a long time. But at the same time, can you explain to the audience how much they could potentially make off of giving plasma?
So our donation rates change almost every month. They try to like keep it fresh and like kind of go with what's happening out there. But currently our new donor rates are the very first 6 donations you get $100 each time. So you get $600 in 4 weeks.
Wow.
And that's just coming in and donating plasma. Like it's kind of weird, but you don't even have to know how to read. We will read everything to you. So it's really easy money. Everything's tested. It's one-time use. And it's just easy as long as you have the time. It's really easy money, and you're helping actually save someone's life.
Wow. So we've talked about the money aspect. So can you explain how plasma works in the process of saving somebody's life?
So a lot of the medicines that we make are called IVIG. So it's people with immune issues. So they take the plasma and they make medicines for people whose bodies don't naturally make the plasmas and the proteins that they need in order to survive. So we had a guest speaker a couple of years ago that he said he was fine up until he was like 30, 35, something like that. And he got sick and realized he needed plasma medicine. So it's really kind of a unique situation that we use the plasma for.
Wow, that's interesting. So there's also a lot of, I'm gonna just say this. In the Black community, they're like, oh, why are you going and giving plasma? You giving away this and that. What are some of the common misconceptions that people have about plasma? Are there things that you've heard that they're like,
so that's also really interesting because there's a stigma to donating plasma. It's like the people that go just need money and that's it. I talked to a lot of people over the years that actually have family members that need plasma medicine. We had a guy who his mom needed plasma medicine, so he came and donated every day. Well, not every day, twice a week to make that medicine. And we had a student, like a foreign exchange student, and he was telling us that where he came from, that it was like there was no stigma at all. Everyone, a lot of people donated plasma because they knew that it was a good thing. We do hear a lot that most of the people that donate plasma, they just need it for their drug money, and that probably is true for some people. But most of our core donors that come in and donate 2 times a week, every week for years, they're really just everyday working people that need a little extra money.
Wow. And that's powerful because I've been donating for almost 3+ years now. And I use actually my donations. I actually use it to run the ads and actually fund the software that runs this podcast. So because I used to, me and my boy used to come in there. We used to do it for the turn up, you know what I'm saying? We like, man, we about to go get them drinks, you know what I'm saying? And so we wanted to go out on a Friday night. So we go give on, Wednesday or Thursday. So we kind of get the bag, and do that. And as I've evolved and gotten older, I'm like, wow, okay, so if I go get this, then I can run the ads, do the software, do this, I can accomplish these other goals and have a little bit of extra money on the side. Like I was talking to another Army captain who's on active duty, and he was like, he uses it for all of his fun stuff. Like all the stuff that his wife won't let him buy, like won't let him do. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go give plasma. So she's like, that's your play money. And he's like, yes, man. So that's really interesting that you mentioned that. I appreciate you giving us a rundown on that. So I'm going to pull up this screen. So on the side, you also do woodworking.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to bring some of that up. I'm gonna show the screen real quick and let's see where we at. Yeah, so for the audience, this is Marcus runs Pine So Fine. And he does woodworking. Marcus, so what are your prices typically like for an average, piece of furniture?
So it really just depends on like what people want. So far I actually haven't done a whole lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff that I've done is for my home stuff that I wanted. So that's kind of how it started, just stuff that I wanted to do for myself.
Okay.
But like I had a lot of, what was it, like blanket ladders. People really love those, so I did a few of those for like $40. This lady wanted like a 6-foot long, like short table to go behind her couch. So I think that was like 85 bucks. So it really just depends on like the material and what they want and like how big it's going to be, and how long it's going to take me to make it.
Wow. Okay. I mean, so how did you get the inspiration for this one? Like, I feel like this one took a lot of time.
The desk. So I'm actually doing school right now, so I needed a desk to like sit at. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make me a desk, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I found what was it? This unicorn stain, and I was like, oh, this is dope. So that was the very first piece that I used that with, and it came out really nice. It looks like it would take a whole lot of time, but it's kind of like watercolor painting. It's kind of weird, but it turned out really cool.
That's outstanding. And this right here, did you do like were you repurposing?
A redo. So this is just like stuff that I did put some stuff on there. It was just like cool stuff that I could do. So this is actually my dresser in my room right now. I got this from a lady off of Facebook for like maybe 40 or 50 bucks, and it was like top blue. And I was like, I don't like this. So I repainted it white, or I repainted it blue, put the white on there, put new handles on it. So yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty fresh. I mean, and honestly, this type of skill set like is really needed. You know why? Because I'm the FedEx man. I'm getting tired of delivering these heavy boxes of fake, plywood. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like people have like a 6th floor, and I got to take a couch or something like that all the way up. Yeah. And so this is I mean, that is an awesome stain. Like when I actually get a big boy crib, I'm gonna have you hook up some stuff for me because
I'm doing it. I enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah, it's awesome when you can make your passion, you know what I'm saying, something that's fun. And yeah, and profitable, right? You could, I mean, Marcus, the world is your oyster.
Yeah.
So tell me about the process of getting there, because if we're looking at the your page, it says at the top, you know what I'm saying, one day you just bought a saw. Like I don't know too many people. I ain't got too many friends that's just out here, you know what I'm saying, like buying saws. Like, hey, today I'm gonna cut some stuff.
Yeah. So like for the longest time, I wanted manly stuff in my garage. I'm like, I want a power tool to make stuff, but I didn't know what to do. So one day, I think I was just saw it sat in my garage for like the longest time, for like months, and it just sat there because I didn't do anything with it. And then one day I was on like Pinterest, and there was these what do they call it? Like sofa tables, a table that goes behind your couch so you can like put drinks or like decorations up there. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this to make my saw. And that was the very first thing that I made. Okay. And I still didn't do anything else for months. But really, when it really kicked off me was last year. When Corona hit, everyone's in the house, there's nothing to do, you can't go anywhere. So we decided to redo our living room, but we didn't want to like spend a ton of money. So we got new couches, and I was like, I'm gonna make everything else. So I looked online for like designs that I wanted to do. I found some plans that I could follow, and I really liked them. So that's what I did. I made the two side tables. I made the coffee table, and then I made the entryway table. And so that was the start of it for like actually like putting stuff out there and showing people, because I was proud of that. I was like, oh, I just redid our whole living room and made it my own, really. So that was the very first thing. I actually made this back here a little bit later. So we decided to like slowly do stuff in the home. So I made this, and then that was when people were like, "You should start posting on Facebook. You actually do this for other people, not just doing it for yourself." So that's where it started.
Okay, outstanding. Can you describe the process? Like, you go from the wood selection, because I think we had a conversation about wood. It was like,
You're like,
I don't.
what
What was the context?
Yeah. It really just depends. So like a lot of stuff I make with like 2x4s and like construction lumber, because that's the cheapest stuff. So I'm like, how can I make the cheapest thing look the best? Because I don't want to spend a ton of money, especially in case I mess it up, which I have done before. So it's trying to find like not the super expensive stuff, but like something I can make look kind of expensive. So that part is kind of fun for me.
That's real. That's what's up, because it's like you've got, even with like Lowe's and stuff like that, you've got like a bunch of different types of stains. You can even start doing epoxy. Like epoxy is super cool.
Yeah, I want to do that. I've seen like a ton of fun stuff where like people make like, what is it, like live edge tables and stuff, and it's like all these different colors, and they put the epoxy over it. So my kid's mom, she actually wants me to redo her countertops. Right now she has like I don't know what it's called. It's not laminate. I can't remember what the name of it, but it's like boring basic countertops. And so she like repainted everything, and she's like, I want you to do like butcher block countertops. So I'm like, that's a lot of work, but I'm excited to do it. I don't know. It's just fun.
Because, well, in butcher block, what'd you say?
It's fun to me. I'm sure other people are like, why? Like, why would you want to do that? But I think it's fun.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about like passions, is like a lot of times they just chase us. Like I enjoy learning. So I'm like, why not just start a podcast and start telling people about what I learned? Like, because people inevitably, they don't want help. Like, they say they want help, they say they want advice, they say they want different results, but like they never start doing anything. And I got tired of people saying, hey man, how you do this? How do you do that? I was like, because I'll tell them and I'll help them out, and then they won't do none of it. And then it's like, I feel like I wasted my time. My problem is I care too deeply about people. So I'm like, I need them to do something different. Like, how can I, so I started a podcast and I started talking about it. And then I deployed, and then I was like, well, I got some time on my hands, so I might as well drop some more podcasts. And then I was like, you know what? I hate when people stigmatize millennials. Like the millennials that I know. Speak on that. Go ahead.
Yes.
You look like you had some.
It's really weird because I feel like, so where I'm working, I feel like most of the millennial people that I know are hardworking people. Are people who like have their head together. They have like a plan. They seem to like care about people. And I feel like a lot of people will give millennials that like selfish title, like they don't, or like entitled, or but I don't see a whole lot of that, which I just think is so weird. But maybe it's just I just surround myself with better people. I don't know.
Well, and you got a point. You got a point, right? Like there's a saying that the 5 people that you surround yourself by is, what I'm saying, are going to influence your life, And we kind of spiral off of each other. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, they killing it. They rising up. I got to keep going. I can't quit today. Like I gotta slog through whatever it is, because there are people always watching.
That's true. Yeah.
like when you come on the floor, I'm gonna be honest with you, Marcus, when you, and I don't know what the other young lady's name is, she's a manager as well, she's tall. When she comes on the floor, like people move, people execute.
Yes.
Without even anybody even saying anything. So this is nothing on y'all, but like the power went out, you know? And so that day, I'm gonna keep it 100 because I take ownership of my situations.
Yeah.
I was running a little bit behind. I wanted to be in there like 30 minutes earlier than I did, and I slept in a little later. You know, everything at work was fine, but it's just like when you go in there, I'm like, usually in the morning, business professionals come in, you know, and so it's like I need people to, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, at least don't, you know, like
get it
exactly. You know, but they don't have that. A lot of the newer ones, they ain't got that. I don't know how to explain it another way. They ain't got that dog that y'all got.
Yeah, it's like, so we're really big on like moving with a sense of purpose. Like you always have, what are you doing? Where are you going? What's the next task? You should always have that mindset when you're working, because like people, like this is a customer service job. People have other things to do. Yes, they come here to donate twice a week, but maybe they got to go pick up their kids. Maybe they're running a little late today. Maybe they have another Zoom meeting to get to or whatever. So I remember like way back at the other center, what really motivated me was when I would get to work, when I would come on my shift, and then I would go and start screening. And people would be like, "Oh my God, thank God you're here!" Like literally, people in the lobby would be like, "Oh my God, thank God you're here," because we know you're gonna get us in and get us out. Like that should be the goal when you work in a customer service setting. Is let me get these people what they need, whatever the product is. Let me get them what they need so they can go and do whatever it is they need to do after this. Because clearly they don't want to be here all day. So we try to. When we supervise with that mentality. Like I'm not gonna do less than you. And, well, sometimes I do because I'm the supervisor and I don't have to do as much work as you. But I'm not gonna come and ask you to do more than I would do myself. So when I come out here to help you, I expect you to move right along with me. So that's how we manage.
Well, and that's real, because when it comes down to supervisory roles, like I've been a general manager, like I've led platoons and stuff like that. It's one of those things where when they see you do, they execute differently. You know what I mean? And as leaders, we can detach from that because we got paperwork, we got the system, we got to do payroll, everything. We got to just, it's a lot, you know? And I always talk to, and sometimes it's hard talking up because people don't understand the experience that you've had. You know what I mean? So, you know, because right now I'm like, I might deploy again here pretty soon. And so like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to FedEx, go for what I know, get the bag, save it. You know what I'm saying? Still doing the focus on financial freedom thing. But it's one of those things where you talk to me like, hey dog, just, I know you're trying to help me, but I'm seasoned. Like I'm gonna be decent no matter what. If I got to be out here till 8 at night, cool. You should probably be riding with the new driver, training them on something.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to get people to do that because they also have all these other problems. And that's one thing I talk about on Proactive Pragmatism, like the regular podcast, is putting your things in sequence. But you've always seemed to have a system. Like it's great. You talked about earlier how you gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta task things out and you gotta put them in order, because otherwise they're gonna eat you alive. And it's people just, they're getting eaten alive out here and they don't even know it
every day.
I'm like, well, it's like by the time that you catch on, life has already moved past you.
Yeah, and it's hard to like teach people to like see things the way that you see them, like in like a production kind of way. Like it's hard to like teach that part. Like some of it is like you can teach people how to do the job, but you can't always teach people like how to always have that like that third eye of like watching everything. There's some people that are really tunnel vision.
They are.
Teach them so much. You can't like mold another you into everyone.
Well, and that's hard. That's, man, it crushes my soul because I'm an empath. I'm like, I see more in you than you would do in you. That's the problem. That's my problem. I see more in you than your mom and dad see in you.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me. You know, I'm like, you got this. Just a little bit, just a slight amount of discipline and like caring. But you can't really. I'm gonna be honest. And if we keep it in a buck, young me wouldn't have understood this. You know, and if it wasn't for me joining the military at such a young age and getting that little, you know what I mean, like that sequence of you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and at no means at any place have I ever been perfect. Like when I was at Jimmy John's as a training manager, like I was way too militant. Like I didn't, and I hadn't even scratched the surface of the military at that point, you know. But people were like, "But you see certain things in certain people, you know, how they move, how they talk, their mannerisms, things like that." And going to the deployment taught me, you know, it taught me so much empathy because I'm like, bruh, imagine you 17 or 18 years old getting deployed and making this much money. You know, it's like you wouldn't care about the things that you care about right now.
Yeah.
You're like, regardless, they like, if even they have this thing called Article 15. Like you get it, like you can get in trouble if you do something stupid, you know, whatever. Troops, they're gonna find alcohol, they're gonna drink, they're gonna, you know, whatever. Even in a dry country, they go find a way to make it happen. You know what I mean? And then as a leader, you have to be as objective as possible and address the situation, and then detach. Is it? You got what you needed. We, you know, we squash this, whatever, keep it moving. But that grace is important. So my question is as a supervisor, what is one of your biggest pet peeves? Like when it comes to employees, we talked about the sense of urgency thing.
My biggest pet peeve, I think probably my biggest pet peeve is when you see someone who knows what needs to be done, but they are avoiding the work. I hate when you just are blatantly avoiding work. Like that for me is like it boils my blood because I can see it. Like I can see you seeing that like this person needs that, or you need to go there, or like you have an empty bed here that you can put someone in. But instead, you're like, I'm gonna sit back and pretend like I'm not seeing nothing, and then someone else is gonna pick up the slack for me. That I cannot stand.
Well, and that's interesting because it's like the culture has changed. Like you have people who are, I don't know. I think the generation tide has actually started to change. I think it's more Gen Zers. I don't know. Are they old enough? Do they have IDs yet? I don't know. Like there's a weird gap there, but I'm starting to see the generational gap because a lot of them had, you know, cell phones and technology in their hands since they were born. And so it's weird because it's like the validation is in the social media. The validation is no longer in working.
I'm not even gonna lie, I am super attached to my phone, but like I always have my phone with me, but like there are people who are like in the middle of working and they're like da 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 and like trying to do stuff or like talking through people on their watch, or I'm like, you are in the like right dab in the middle of work. Like how are you can't get off your phone at all, or you have to text someone back, or you have to take this phone call. Like it's kind of crazy like how tech like dependent people are.
Well, and they're not even vigilant. They don't even know it.
Yeah.
Marcus, they don't even know it.
Yeah. Like, it's normal life for them.
Well, in deployment kind of saved my life because I'm like, there wasn't a lot like you know, technology has improved. So you can get, you know, signal here and there, but a lot of times it was dead. So and I wasn't getting no text no more, you know, like it wasn't like I wasn't on no, you know, day naps or nothing like that. Like I couldn't do none of that because like my rank, right? That's not gonna match with somebody who's like a freaking private. Like, I'm good. That's Article 15, discharge from the Army, all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even gonna play that game. I'm here to get. I had one captain over there. She was like, she gave a class about harassment or something, and she was like, you know what? I ain't come over here to get married. I'm here to get this bag, take care of my business, do my job, and go home. I can do all that at home. But, you know, over there, you know, somebody who would be a 3, you know, everybody has their this is a 10, whatever. Somebody that would be a 3 over there. I mean, over there in the States, over there, they're a 10. So like, and I'm asking young me, like when I was 18, 19 years old, like would I not try to, you know what I'm saying? So I get it.
Seeing this through right now.
What'd you say?
You're like, whose eyes am I seeing? Is it like drunk goggles? Is it like clear-headed right now?
And troops get in trouble because I'm like, bro, A, you're a sergeant. B, this, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like, unless somebody has these conversations with them and keeps it 100, like that's why I always try to keep it a buck, because I would have wanted somebody to keep it a buck, you know what I'm saying, early in my military career. Because you bump your head, you hit your head, you're like, man, is this over for me? And somehow they're like, okay, well, did you learn? Did you figure this out? Now you can reintegrate and figure things out and fly straight. And a lot of people don't get that. And that makes it really hard, especially being in management and supervisory roles. It's like, I need you to detach, but we can't really detach. Look, I got on my wrist, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's kind of awkward sometimes too, when it's like, oh, I need you to get off your phone, but sorry, I have to have my phone with me because I communicate through my boss through my phone. So sorry.
And they don't understand. Like, and that's because it seems like, you're being a hypocrite, but that's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, if you want to talk to the boss, you want to do these things, fine.
Yeah, go right.
And the truth is like, I figured out that the more I put my phone away, later I can check all the likes and whatever and everything that's on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more fulfilling at the end of the day than it is in little bites and pieces.
Yeah,
because you actually feel some love. But if you see it and it's gone, and that's a whole different beast. So what made you start working in the plasma center? You was just looking for a job, or like was there a like, in order to get my career, I'd like to do this? Because I know a lot of people, they're like, well, if I do this, then it gets me into the medical field, and I can feel how I like it.
So at the time that I started working at the plasma center, I actually didn't have I did have a job. I did have a job. I was working at Target. I had been at Target for like a month. But prior to that, I was a CNA. CNA. The last CNA job I had, it was like at the Champaign County nursing home. So I was working there for a long time, and then there was this girl there that was like, "Hey, I can get you a job at this other place, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh, great," because I hate it here. You got me a job, right? She's like, "Yeah, I got you." Quit my job, and then she stopped answering my phone calls. Like, what? Like, I just quit my job. I don't have a job. Like, what do you mean you're not answering my phone? No calls, no text, no nothing. So I was like, okay, great. So I did not have a job for like 2 months, and I was like, I gotta do something. And this was like in December, like, right before Christmas time. So I started working at Target. And so I was working at Target for about a month, and I saw on my Facebook, actually, so I took my CNA class at the Urbana Adult Education Center. So they had posted, like, if you guys are looking for a job, try this place out. And they posted Griffles. So that's how I found them, through Facebook, through, the CNA class that I took. So I quit Target and went there. I did do some CNA work, like on and off, for a few years. But yeah, I've just been there ever since 2013.
Well, that's interesting, because these gems, these diamonds that people, come across, like, they're like, yeah, I want to make good money and I want to do this and do that. Like, a lot of times it's in front of you with the resources, And so it's weird. So many people want people to put them on. And I'm like, you realize how we got on, right? Like, there was no magic sauce. Like, even in the military, I'm still learning every day. Like, I've been doing this for 11 years, Marcus.
Oh, that's a long time.
And I'm still figuring out, because I joined when I was 17 years old. I was just a young Tommy, you know what I'm saying? Big nose, kind of skinny, whatever. And when I was real little, my pops, we used to drive by the armory all the time, because he was in, so I see my dad get his uniform, do his thing. I used to wear his boots around the living room, Now kids are, they put on them shoes and fall over on their face. And so I was like, you know what? I was getting ready to graduate that year, and I was like, might as well check out the army. And then 17-year-old me went in there and got sworn in, and then I left for basic that summer. And then my dad was like, and I had a teacher that shout out to Miss Donahue. She probably won't see this, but she was like, you know what? You should go to Eastern Illinois. And I found out most of the faculty from Carbondale Community High School had actually went to Eastern Illinois because it's a teaching school. And so I was like, you know what? Boom. And then my dad was like, you need to go become an officer, son. And I was like, all right, Pops, I'll look into it. Then I called the ROTC program when I was in high school, and I was like, hey, I'll be coming, the spring of yada, yada, yada. And that's kind of how that happened. It was just like, it's weird. I'm weird. Like I go down rabbit holes, and then I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of, it ain't gold yet, but I'm like, there's something here. And you're like, that something there sows a seed that just sprouts and sprouts, and you just keep learning and you keep growing and you figure it out. And like, you look back, you're like, wow, I'm here. Because you just kept putting in the work. And I think that's interesting, you know what I'm saying? Because I almost guarantee you saw some supervisors, you're like, man, I'm tired of working on the floor, man. I'm gonna see if I can get into some supervisory positions.
Yeah. Actually, so I feel like it's kind of weird. Like all of my positions kind of like came to me. So, because I started as a donor processor, when I started, I was like, I'm never sticking anybody with me. But I was there for like maybe like 6 months, I can't remember. And they were like, hey, do you want to learn how to like set up on the floor? And I was like, sure. And they were like, there's a raise come with it. I was like, oh, absolutely. So I did that, and then so they like eased me into it, and they were like, hey, you want to learn how to stick too? We'll give you another raise. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I did. And they were like, hey, we'll send you to this class, 2 days in Indy. We pay for everything. You just got to learn how to do the machines. I was like, okay, great. I'll do that too. And then I became the training coordinator. What happened was the coordinator that was there, she had to leave. She had to quit. So they're like, hey, you want this position? Like, you're the best fit for it. And I was like, okay, great. So then I did that. And then really what I wanted to do was where I'm at now was operations supervisor. Because I was training coordinator for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and it was okay, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. I enjoyed like actually being out and doing the work versus like teaching everybody all the time. So the other operations supervisor that was there, she decided she didn't want to do that anymore. She wanted to be training coordinator. So we just switched. So like my positions kind of came naturally. I didn't really have to like seek them out, but I actually kind of had them, in my thoughts of like what I wanted to do.
Okay, I see the Pepper back there. Hi, Pepper.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting though. But you talked about dedicating yourself and being dedicated to what you did, even though you in those positions you didn't necessarily want. It was like, whatever, it's a job.
Knew that it was going to get me somewhere that I wanted to be. It was like, I don't necessarily like when I was like, I don't want to stick, but I know that this is going to give me some more money, and this is going to advance me in my career where I want to go. So I do it for a while and see where it gets me. So I think I always had to have that in mind. Like, even though where I'm at now isn't necessarily what I want to be, it's a step towards where I want to go.
It is, and every like, even if it's just an inch in the right direction, that step is very, very powerful. It's important not to burn your bridges. I want to express that to the audience. Never burn your bridges, because you don't know who you're going to need or what you're going to need. And I've had to I've had to learn that over time. It's like, if I it doesn't matter who it is. Like, I try to be like, unfortunately, Marcus, my personality is more like, you know what I mean? So people think I'm being mean, but I'm like, I'm not. Like, I'm focused. I'm usually thinking about the next move. That's how this podcast is. It's like, I start off with a certain, label and a certain thing that I wanted to go about. And then I use feedback from the surveys to think. So a lot of times, like, people think I'm being mean. I'm like, I'm thinking about, okay, this podcast, I could do this different and do this, once you go down a rabbit hole. But it's one of those things where people think, and I've had to smile more, because people are like, oh yeah, you have an infectious smile. And I'm like, okay, I gotta use it. Like, But I realized that sometimes, and there was a tragedy that happened today. By the time this episode airs, it'll, more things will unravel about it. But some people got shot in a FedEx warehouse, and you know, RP, what I'm saying, to the victims, and I hope that their family gets the healing that they need as well. But it's one of those things where I have witnessed interactions between FedEx workers because it's such a stressful job, because it's hot, it's miserable, it's dusty, it's dirty. You'll come in and they've let loaders go, you know what I'm saying? And it's not on the loaders, to make it perfect. If they're going home, like, because packages are still coming. So sometimes we have to load our own trucks. And then oftentimes they'll have somebody new and they'll do it wrong. What'd you say?
You got to load it and deliver it?
Yeah. Today, actually, I had to load a 10-foot, 12, 14-foot box truck. Like we like the volume has ran so high that today I had to, like, one of those long Penske trucks, the big yellow ones. That's why sometimes when I'll pull up in different trucks, because we don't, like, with the influx of all that money and all that stuff that they're going through, everything going online, business is shutting down. We're getting a high volume. So we're just getting ran through the mud. And so, but here's the thing. Guess who also got stimmies? The workers.
Yeah.
So when they get the extra money and the taxes, well, I got to put up with this. And I can't say they're wrong, because I'm a realist. You know what I'm saying? I'm very pragmatic about things. I'm like, bruh, you're not wrong. And so when I interact with them, I'm like, hey, brother, what's your name? Hey, sis, what's your name? You know what I'm saying? I'm Tommy. Nice to meet you. Like, I might be a little short. Like, sometimes I just shout out commands, not like in a bad way, but I'm like, there, because I'm trying to load my truck, and at the same time, not, get all the packages mixed up, because they're made by sequences. So if you throw the sequence off, a package that was supposed to get to you 3 hours ago gets to you at 7 p.m. at night. So people don't understand the inner working. So they just think, like, they're like, oh yeah, he didn't deliver my package. I'm like, at no point in my entire life have I ever said I don't want to deliver this person's package.
Right.
Because I don't want to take it back to the warehouse, because guess what? I've got to deliver it the next day.
Yeah. So either way, you got to do it.
The exact same package. And if I don't do a good job, they let me go and I don't get paid. You know what I'm saying? So there's a process here, but it shows something about empathy, what happened today, because I can see, do I say that in any way what happened is okay? No, but I understand the merits of how it got there. Because you got, so a lot of people that they don't even, like, I try to hold my anchor. I'm like, okay, my anger doesn't have a purpose here. There is a time and a place to have a certain conversation, but I need to be nice to this person. I've seen multiple drivers call loaders, I'm saying, all types of names and slanders and different. It is, Marcus, I'm telling you, it's crazy out there.
What?
Like in the warehouse, because they're different companies. So the people that own the trucks, they're a separate company. They're contractors. And then they have employees. And then the ones that are loading in the warehouse, they're separate employees. And then the ones that are loading the freight trucks, they work for a different company too.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so it's a wreck. Like, and Amazon's gonna go through the same growing pains everybody else went through. There was a reason back in the day why they called it going postal when somebody went crazy. Mm-hmm. Guess where that stress is transcended to? Everybody else, because we deliver the USPS and stuff now.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, I see, like, sometimes like so many different trucks will like drop off different like stuff, like, because I order through Amazon and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it would be like different trucks of different companies will deliver from like the same like through Amazon, which is weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is, what did you say?
And now they deliver on Sundays, which is also weird.
Yeah, well, it's weird too. Like, they also expanded, so we work more days a week now. So we're technically 7 days a week. And so that can rotate. It can be good for your pocketbook, for your mental. It mess you all up because your body's going through it every day too. And most people don't have healthy habits. So they'll feel the pain of the route and everything they're going through, and then they'll go knock down, a fifth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they do that. They'll do that every night and then come to work and get more depressed, and it creates this mental rabbit hole. Like, it's crazy out here. But I'm going down a rabbit hole talking about this. But yeah, it was crazy, and it's one of those things where, like, we have to be nicer to people and understand where people are coming from, because it takes a village, you know what I'm saying, to make society run. But if we don't take care of that village, then we don't have a society. But we coming up here on some longer time. Did you have any questions for me about the podcast or anything before we, you know what I'm saying, end it?
Well, so I really just want to ask you, like, what made you want to start doing this podcast?
So in the beginning, I had this vision. So I started the Hungry Millennial Network, and I know you saw, you see the little logo on stuff. And I wanted to do that, and it was about putting my friends on. Like, I felt like as millennials in college, like, we didn't have, like, you couldn't go and get a 9-to-5 working at Billy Bob's factory making good money anymore. Like, we don't live in that economy anymore. And so I felt like people were pointing fingers at us, telling us that the reason why we're at where we're at is because of us, because of our lack of work ethic, because we felt entitled to everything. But, like, nobody ever really gave me anything that, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously as a child, there's certain things that you need, whatever, but nobody just handed anything to me. And everything that was worth getting wasn't handed to me. And so I had a friend, shout out to these people that are doing their own little things, mom, dad, father, studio producing. But I had a friend who, she was really passionate about animals and, like, making sure they had a home. Like, she had all these dogs she was taking care of, and she that was where her passion was. And then I had another guy who, he was really good at, like, videography. Like, that's what he wanted to do. And I was decent at graphics, like graphic design. So I was like, I could do ads for you, whatever. And so I was creating this conglomerate, and I had a Facebook page, the Hungry Millennial Network. And so I just started creating logos. I started putting stuff out there, and then I created a YouTube channel, and I was vlogging on it when I was homeless, living in Chicago. And then I just wanted to create a platform for millennials. And, some people, when I introduced the idea, because my Instagram is the Hungry Millennial, like, they felt like I was just trying to use people to boost me. And nothing that I've ever done is really, like, the things that I do is really not about me, because I'm such an empath. Like, I want to learn and grow, and I want to pass on that knowledge so other people can become greater. Because I believe that if you add value, value comes back to you, and that's worked for me every day of the week. I don't go out looking to, I got to make money to live, but I've put well over probably $3,000 plus into this entire brand, into all of this. And it's money that I've literally come out of my sweat, blood, and tears. You know what I mean? And so that was really the passion behind it. I was like, I want to put my friends on. Like, I want to tell their stories, so generations afterwards, because a lot of the stuff that I listen to on YouTube has been there for years. Like, I'll come up on something that's been on there for 5 years, and a lot of people might look at it, oh, this video ain't getting a lot of likes, or this ain't getting a lot of viewers. But what I found out is there was a video that I did for a class or something. And it's had, like, over, I think, like 12,000 viewers, and that was a separate YouTube page. But the stuff on YouTube just continues to circulate. But you never know when your time is going to come for you to be popping. Yeah. The problem is now with clout, it's like, I don't do this for clout. I do this for the people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, maybe I touch somebody's life. And often I'll watch my old videos that I did by myself, and it'll motivate me to keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if I put Marcus on, talk about Pine So Fine, and he takes it and oh man, I talked about this, so I got to keep going. I got to work on this. I got to figure out another way. Like, this is a different cycle in my life, so I'm going to change this and switch this up. And so I'm, like, helping people document and telling their story and who they are, and showing people, like, these millennials out here, we out here putting in the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And we're out here having the big conversations, the tough conversation that people don't normally want to have. And it's all about people embodying their greatness, because I think there's greatness in every person, every individual out there. Doesn't matter their IQ, doesn't matter their background or any of those things. Like, some of the greatest people that I've ever met are disabled. And their greatness is they never quit. They never gave up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I learned something from everybody, and those things end up spiraling into something else, and that's value. That's value added. And there's my mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, my mom used to take care of a blind guy. He always used to listen to the radio. Well, that, you know, that experience of listening and learning and stuff like that, and it grew a passion for sports for me. And so I could sit down with somebody and talk about it. There was a podcast that I released a couple of days ago, and I got a couple of the athletes that I always wanted to ask the tough questions. I can ask those questions because I listened to those games. You know, I listened to what the organization was. The same coach that I listened to back then that was coaching the Terriers in the holiday tournament, he coached these individuals. There was some greatness inside of him. And I've started to realize lately, like, I always got podcasts I'm listening to while I'm working for FedEx, you know what I'm saying, and doing my route because it gets monotonous. I'm like, ooh, that's powerful. They talked about that. They talked about this. There was a I know I'm going a little long, but there was a podcast where somebody talked about their table of executives. So when they were going to make a decision, or if they were going to quit or give up, what would this person have? You know, and I was like, okay, on my table, I got Abe Lincoln, I got Denzel Washington, you know, he got that swagger, you know what I'm saying? I got Michael Jordan. Hey, nah, man, we got to get some more reps in. I got Kobe, LeBron, you know, these people. But I'm like, what if I could create a mental auditory? And that was powerful for me, because that means I have all the tools in my toolkit to help other people become successful and to be successful myself. And you never know when you'll need that one piece of knowledge that you listen to, you know, 5 years back when that crazy dude Tommy was talking on his podcast. And so that, I don't know, it's just been in me. And when I was little, you know, I don't know, black churches had this thing about like prophesying on people. Like, my little brother was supposed to be a prophet, and my dad was actually a minister, and I was supposed to be a pastor. I don't know. It's not really my thing. You know, I'm not really, you know, there's just certain things that are tied to certain things, and I'm like, I don't know. But somehow I find myself speaking and talking about knowledge and walking in that passion, regardless of what I do. Somehow it just finds me. It's just in me. What I read in a book is like, hey, you know, I read this, but I don't say I read this, but I'm like, hey, what if you try that? And if you did this for 5 days, and you did it for 20 days, 30 days, and then it became a habit in your life, this might change your life. And that's it. So that's why I started. And I was just like, well, if I create a network and it gets big enough, I can do a website, I can do a bunch of different stuff. There's just so many different outlets. And, you know, it helps my mind. It keeps me invigorated. It keeps me positive in a mental state. Because I'm like, there are people that have inboxed me and was like, Tommy, like, that was a good podcast. Like, I'm glad you did that one. Millennials are, I tuned in. When's the next one dropping? And I'm like, that one person just keeps me going, because I'm like, that really touched their lives. And some of the people that have inboxed me, like, they don't have anything else in their life to look forward to. Like, society is just, I mean, basically, you know, pushed them out. And the thing is, I come from a background where I was put in special ed classes because I couldn't sit still. But instead of, I mean, teachers, they often don't have the time to give you the attention that you need to have a focused learning plan. So that they would just throw everybody in special ed.
Yeah.
And so now you're looking at a special ed kid who is leading troops. He's an Army captain. He's got a degree. He's shooting for a master's degree, you know, and that's powerful. And so that's me. You got anything else before we close out?
Nope.
Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast. I know, you know, it was probably a shock to this. It's like, you know, he was like, what am I going to talk about? But
I'm like,
obviously,
I want to hear me talk.
I mean, you've embodied greatness. I mean, somebody might think about, oh man, maybe I can level up and become a supervisor. It doesn't even have to be plasma. It can be anything. But anyway, audience, you need to get out there and get that bag. Go give some plasma, you know what I'm saying? Get that extra bread out here. I know y'all just got y'all stimmies and everything, you know what I'm saying? Y'all think y'all balling, but hey, the winter is coming.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Williams, I appreciate you being on the podcast, brother.
Thank you for having me on.